Hey everybody, welcome to another Fish Tech video, and today we are talking about the brand new Nandoni 2025 update. This is not a version 2.0. You do not have to buy this chart from scratch. This is an update. We have used some of the older data from 2021 where the side scan was pretty good, but that was predominantly in the shallower area. We've now moved out deeper, and you will see in my video why we moved out deeper. Anyway, let's get into the video. Guys, this unit that you're looking at right now has been restored to default. I've turned the alarms off and the beeping of the keys I've turned down a little bit so it's not too noisy. Obviously, I'm on my pages screen. This is what you get when you push your pages button. And I've customized my background. I always use a custom background here. You can do that for your unit as well. Anyway, first we're going to start with chart. As always, there we have South Africa. My chart is not inserted yet. As you can see, we're way up in the top northeast of South Africa. It's right up at the top here. Other side, Louis Trichardt, which I like to still call Louis Trichardt, and I'll put a waypoint there, and this is near Toyando. Okay, at this point here I've zoomed in a little bit, and I'm going to insert, we should have actually used the Navionics there. I think it gives us, that'll show us where Toyando is. Yes, there we go. Okay, and now I'm going to insert my chart. Like I said, this is a restored default unit, so this is, if I always suggest, guys, please do the same. Just clear your RAM. If you have a lot of trails as well, please delete those trails. If you have an absolutely emergency trail, if you launch in mist often, which you shouldn't do, but if you do, and you need a specific route to idle along in, then by all means, save that trail. But otherwise, get those trails off your units, guys. They slow them down terribly. Okay, whatever comes up first, choose that. And I'm glad that mine said Nandoni Dam. Yours probably won't. It might say UltraHF, or it might say speed limit, or it might say satellite, or whatever. Okay, whichever one comes up first. There we're on the dam. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Now, the first thing you do, we're going to turn on photo overlay. This overlay on this primary menu that I select here now, guys, if you have a Fish Tech chart in your unit, you never touch this. You never, ever, ever touch this. Do not turn this on, ever. That is not the overlay we're talking about. It's under more options. There's our chart source. Like I said, we're going to start with Nandoni Dam. Go to our chart options, and under chart options, you get your photo overlay, which you can either make land only. And what happens there is, you can see all the photographs along the shoreline, but that might get a little bit busy. So what I suggest you do, go to your chart detail, make that low, and those will disappear. And what will happen is you'll only see them when you zoom in. You see them along the shoreline there? But if your focus is on the photos, you're busy working with the photos, then I suggest you change that back to full, and you'll see where they are all along the shore from quite a high zoomed out level. Okay, so that's what you're going to get on your photo overlay as full. I mean land only. If you make it full, the isobaths will disappear, and then you've just got your contours as an overlay on your satellite. This is the best low-level satellite that I could get my hands on. There isn't too much available for Nandoni, but I think this is good enough. It sort of at about halfway through the dam, it changes. You can see the satellite imagery didn't quite get it as low on this side, on the east side of the dam. But the area you really want a low level satellite for is the west. So that works out quite nicely. What about your shaded relief? I'm going to go back to the initial primary menu. That's your primary menu. If you want to know if you're in the primary menu, you'll see there won't be back on the top right where it says clear cursor now. It won't there. If you see back there, just keep pushing back until you get here. At this point here, you can go to your more options, your chart options, and go shaded relief and turn your shaded relief on. And now you will see, oh dear, the isobelts are back. What you need to do is you need to go to your categories and you need to turn them off. You go to your photo overlay. Now you're using your photo overlay between land only and full as a switch between the shaded relief and the full satellite with the contours on top. You'll notice I've changed this shaded relief from the standard color that you would typically get, you know, the standard fish tech color. The reason why I've done this is because I noticed the thermocline at Nandoni was very deep. It was around 55 feet. So in lieu of it being there again, or I don't know how stable it is at Nandoni, I cannot tell you. But I felt let's use 55 feet as our limit. So everything from 60 foot and below is in color, which will start there with your purples. So essentially, if you're a carp fisherman, for example, and you're hunting really big carp at Nandoni Dam, which I believe is a beautiful destination, I saw some massive arches down there on that thermocline. So yeah, I would really get very close to these big ledges. But guys, those of you carp fishermen that are using Garmin and Humminbird and all that, from a sonar perspective, there's nothing wrong with those units. I love Humminbird. I think their side scan is still fantastic. It's definitely got a niche high performance, especially in the shallower water. In fact, I think the older one, the old 898s and the 998s, I think were a little bit better than even the new stuff. I think they do a lot of AI on the actual units, but from the raw recorded data, those units were fantastic. They didn't have the power to get a long range, but they were certainly crystal clear. Really, really nice stuff. So yeah, use this shaded relief, but those of you who are using the Humminbirds and the Garmins and only have contour data, you're going to run into trouble. The trees, anybody that has fished Nandoni will tell you the trees are the problem. You need to know exactly where those trees are. And you need to put a game plan together. If you do hook one of these big fish, you don't want to get snagged up there and get that fish snagged up and that fish dies because it's now tied to a tree. You've really got to put a good game plan together. And in order to put a good game plan together like that, you're going to need the UltraHF charts, which I will show you shortly. But yeah, so even for the carp, I mean the bass guys, you will see this is really going to help you with your shallow game, you know, targeting your shallow fish. So I strongly recommend this as a tool. And this shaded relief goes all the way. This big area here is just a big weedy sort of area, what we call the Diddy flats. Let's have a look if you can see what those flats look like. Okay, that's looking back at the dam. That's not a good one. Yeah, as you can see there, very difficult to get in there. It's just weeds everywhere. It's a very shallow, flat area. Okay, then you've got your whole river section. Like I said, the river section And the river section goes a long way. Wow, it goes all the way. Really, and these photographs as well, they are covered all the way to the end here. That 694 is the last one. You can see it goes right up into the little skinny part of the river where it comes in. But there's some lovely photographs. I'll talk more about the photographs later. Right, the next thing I'd like to show you, because of Nandoni being such a dangerous dam, there's some massive hard timber just below the surface, especially when the dam is low. I want you to pay very close attention to what I show you now. Navigating on this dam is tricky. So wherever you launch from, I suggest get your boat in the water, start idling out. You can use this particular chart here, this Nandoni Dam, start to get it all sorted out. If you're launching, which most of you are going to be from the east side of the dam, you're pretty much going to be safe, and whatever you can see visually, you're going to be okay with. But the minute you start heading west, you need to be very, very careful. So what I suggest you do is go straight out. Don't cut any corners and try and take a shortcut. Get into the main channel. And what I've added for this is for Nandoni Dam. Yes, you can do this with your custom colorization and all that type of thing. But I think for the guys that just want to navigate, and the guy that says, listen, I want to get to the river now. I heard that's where the fish are biting. I'm going to the river. I suggest changing to speed limit. Speed limit is going to look like that because it's a raster. So what you need to do, a raster chart means imagery. You're going to go back. You're going to go to your chart options, and your photo overlay, you're going to make full. Okay, get into the color zone. Just keep idling, out. And the minute you get into this colored area, you're safe. So what I would do is get into the blue area. I think my breakdown that I put on social media was the red area was 60 k's an hour, don't go over 60. The yellow was 70, the green was 80, and then the blues, do your best or your worst, whichever way you want to see it, and you will be safe. So that means if you're heading towards the river, you're going to stay in this. Pay very close attention to your electronics. Stay in this. Don't run out of this color area. You could run out of this colored area by just a few meters, and you could lose your motor or have it ripped right off the transom. It's a very dangerous dam to go flying around if you don't know what you're doing. Stay in the blue, stay in the blue, stay in the blue. Start slowing down. Tap down. Get down to 80 in the green, run the 80, run the 80, tap down again, you're going into yellow, tap down to 70, take that corner, that last corner before the river, and now you're in your 60 zone. Keep going, bit dodgy, you could slow down here, be very, very careful, and at this point here, you can say, right, let's go back. I did have a shaded relief for this, which you could switch to the satellite only, so you can use that as a switch. Either you can stay in your colors if you want to see why must I stay in this color zone. If you switch to land, you will very quickly see why. Look how close these trees are. These are not bushes. This is not the bushveld. This is, these are monsters. These are transom and engine eating monsters. Not all of them, but most of them. And guys, this satellite, I'm actually surprised how accurate it is for these trees. So back to the carp, guys. If you're busy doing your planning on how you're going to get your carp out and where's a safe way to park your boats, put your feed, how you're going to manipulate that fish to get it back to you safely. This satellite alone will go a long way in helping you plan that. But obviously the UltraHF is key, because there's a lot of things that's not on the satellite that you want to see that's on the UltraHF. So the guys that do take this long trip up to Nandoni looking for their monster carp records and what have you, do a lot of planning at home. Know exactly where you're going to go, know exactly where you're going to anchor, know exactly where you're going to feed, know exactly what your fighting zone is, so you don't get those beautiful, massive, big carp wrapped up in a tree and get snapped off. And yeah. Okay, so that was the speed issue. I said then once you get up the river, I would change that to Nandoni again, and then you in the shaded relief, and then you can say, okay, now where do I feel comfortable driving around, and where you want to go and fish, and then obviously you can switch over to your UltraHF. Now, while we're here in the river section, there are two river sections. The one is from 2021, which is this one. I should have actually named it 2021, but just remember, if it's the full word river, no, it's the old one, and you'll recognize the layout. It's the old way that we used to do it. The reason why I've kept it in there is there's some things in there that we recorded that do look a little bit better than the new one. So you're going to have to see for the area you are fishing what's going to work better for you. But if you look at, for example, this area here, if you look there, this looks like not much going on here type of area, but watch what happens when you change over to the new one. UltraHF W, E, and R is the new one. The UltraHF R is completely new. There's no old data in there. Old full, and yeah, for example, there, as you can see, everything, those little hard, clumpy sections there are shown. You've got your rocks here. Whereas if we switch back to the older one, the river, you can see it's only really the shore passes that are there compared to the 2025 update, which is basically everything. And then you just follow that. There's that little pathway there, that little old road section there. Yeah, you're just going to have to explore and see what works for you. Like I said, you can always just switch back over to river and see what the older one was from 2021, or use the latest one. But obviously the river section was not done with Amy. That was driven out ourselves. The river's just too small to warrant putting the Amy's in there. It's a very narrow river. Okay, back onto UltraHF. We can do UltraHF West. So same story, back, chart options, photo overlay full. Now, guys, you will notice if I go land only, you see all these contours that are missing out in the deep water. The reason why those contours are missing is because I don't have very close data. I've got a lot of data for it. You'll see it in the Nandoni chart. But for all the UltraHF, I use an extremely low interpolation so that your contours are extremely accurate, which makes a big difference. So if you on UltraHF, you don't have those deep water contours, because I wanted to keep the interpolation to its absolute minimum. But one of the biggest improvements you will see on the new chart is all these deeper ledges, which weren't included in the 2021 release, are now there. everything out to that 50, 55 range. It's covered everything. It is really, really fantastic information. You can see the difference between the older stuff, between the 2021 and then the newer stuff. You can see it's got a slightly, we've improved our shadow and contrasting dramatically, what we now call shadow max. But the older stuff, like I said, is still plenty good enough. It's not as nice as the new stuff, but it still shows some incredible information there. But as you guys know, this new Shadow Max, you don't get that over contrasting. One or two spots in my mission where I made a little bit of an error with the controls. You'll spot one or two spots where you can see I messed up the control a little bit, but it's a very small percentage of the actual dam. Right, the next, okay, let's go to the next section, back to the east. Here we go, same story, chart options, photo overlay full. As you can see, it goes all the way out. Remember what I was saying about the Thermocline here being so deep? These are really, really brilliant areas now to go and target. And I'm not going to show you everything. I'm not going to zoom in and show you all the magic. But man, there's some absolutely fantastic information here. Just another little trick, if you guys are planning on finding the whole thing of that deep water closest to the shore, flats closest to, try and determine what you consider shallow and what is deep. So let me show you how to do that. Oh yes, with the UltraHF, that's something that I didn't show you. Under chart options, there is a shaded relief, and you can use the photo overlay as a switch. So if you're here on this edge here and you want to zoom in, you say, okay, but geez, I'd really like to see just the satellite here. Or let's see if we can find a tree somewhere. Let's see, do we have any trees in this area? I don't think there's too much from a tree perspective here. Let's rather go west. We know west has got tons of it. Let's go west. There's our west. We know we've got a lot of trees here. And you say, okay, now I want to see, like for instance there, you can see those trees, all those shadows, boom, 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 boom. Oh, and you think to yourself, man, I'd really like to see just the satellite there. But you want to do it quickly, but you don't want to be using multiple menus. You go to your chart options, you turn your shaded relief on, and you'll use your photo overlay now as a switch. You'll use full for your side scan mosaic. So you can see there's big shadows there. You know, there's monsters in the water there. There's a real big monster there. There's another monster there. But how much of it sticks out at the top when the dam is full? You just use your switch. You go to land only, and there it is there. You can see them sitting on that point, all those trees. So unfortunately, our satellite in South Africa isn't very high resolution, but between the high definition UltraHF Sidescan mosaic and the satellite, you can put a pretty good plan together. I was talking about the photos. Let's go back to the photos. To see the photos, you've got to use your Nandoni. Okay. Let's say this is going to be your target area for whatever reason, and you want to check this spot out. Just tap on your photographs, tap on the little pop-up image bottom right hand side, and there it is there. But there's something very unique about these these photographs, which I'm going to show you. Some of them show the patches in the grass where there's actually little open spots. Obviously, these are all taken with the drone. There's over 1,000 of these photographs all around Nandoni. This is brand new. But if you want to look for these patches, you want to find these holes in the grass, I suggest using this. So that was image number 226. So what I suggest you do is hit your pages button. It's been difficult. This old carbon is getting really, really old. You're going to hit your storage. You're going to go to your memory card and go down to photos. There it is there, and you say view. What I've done is I've put a low resolution PDF viewer in of these photographs. So if you were in that area now, like we identified that photograph number 226, and you say that's an area I'm really interested in, but I want to look at the rest of the photographs in there. I want to find a good photograph where I can see patches or breaks in the grass, for example. There's a million other things you could use it for. These photographs, these panoramic images that Lawrence offers us on the unit is a little bit like Street View on Google Earth, which is a very, very powerful tool. So here we're going to say go to page. We saw there's 1,063 photographs around the dam. So we're going to put in 0226 and you're going to say OK. And that was that photograph we saw earlier. Now what you can do is, let's see, is it page up? No, that's the wrong way. Well, let's go back. Let's reverse from 226. Let's go to 225. Let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, that's nice. Page up. As you can see, there you can start to see what I'm talking about. Can you see those little patches? Can you see where there's gaps in the weeds? Sometimes you've just got to catch it right with the reflection on the day and the angle that was taken. Okay, I'm not going to go through too many, but you can see what I mean. You can see these little pockets. And I saw some really good ones. I was hoping to find one. Last one. Let's see if we can. No, it's sort of. You can see what I mean. But yeah, it's a very, very powerful tool. You could sit for an hour or more at home, sitting in your boat or connected to a TV and finding these massive gems. Guys, I believe, I'm quite shocked, I must be honest, that some of you don't know how to connect it to a TV. Guys, Google is your friend. Google is your friend. There's lots of videos. What I'm doing right now, I've got it connected. Well, I'm busy recording my screen. There, that's what I'm doing. I'm busy recording. Use the Link app, connect it to there. You can use a slave unit, one of your old phones lying in your drawer with the 300 other phones of the family that nobody uses anymore, but you hang on to them. Power it up, get the Link app, connect there, get an HDMI adapter, plug it into your 70, 80, 100-inch TV, and you'll have your fish tech charts on your massive, massive TV, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, so that's how you use the photographs. Right, while we're here, I want to show you how do we identify deep water, closest to shore, closest to shallow flats. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the shaded relief off, because we don't want that. We want the category, so you're going to turn your depth area back on, because that's what we're going to be working with. So first of all, remember we identified, let me turn our photo down to low so it doesn't get so cluttered. You can see those photographs disappear there, but the names will still be there, which is awesome. If your thermocline is at 55 feet, then I'm going to mark 60 feet as deep. So let's turn on just the 50 to 60 foot range, just to see. That'll show you where the thermocline is. So then you're going to go categories, use your left hand and the thumb, the edge of your thumb, carefully push the little arrow that's next to area on the far left, push that, and you get a drop down menu where you can select or deselect. So if you say today, I just want to target the thermocline, that's all I want to do. How far does it go? Just turn on that 55 foot range. So I would do this, you're going to have to do 54 to 57. There we go. We've turned just that range on. Now, let's turn the contours off, the actual lines. Can you see that? That will be your thermocline around the whole dam. That's the area that you can cover on Nandoni if you just want to target the thermocline. You might say to yourself, I want to pick the area where the thermocline is closest to the shore. Okay, this is a low-level satellite, so be careful of this. But there it is there. I would pick one of these areas here, like this point here by the Royal Gardens. Something like that I think would be absolutely fantastic. If you say, what do you regard as shallow? Let's say you want, okay, we're going to go back here again. We're going to turn on 18 to 21 as shallow. And I want to see where shallow meets with the thermocline. Where does it get the closest? Obviously the dam wall. But look around. This is like a cheat sheet. This is to find where do you get the thermocline closest to what you consider shallow. And straight away, that would be one right there. That's pretty close. So you got your thermocline very, very close there. There's another one there. See how it comes in quite close there? Very, very powerful tool this. You decide what's shallow, and the thermocline will decide what's the thermocline, obviously. But this is a very quick and powerful way of determining those two. If you want to see what you consider shallower, you're looking for a big flat area that you want to target. Again, you can see by that area there, that was what you considered shallow. You can see there's a nice big flat area there that you can target. You can say, okay, now that I've determined what's my shallow area that I want to target, now you can go back, change your chart and go to your UltraHF and see, right, what do we have in there? And then you can scout around there and find all sorts of awesome things, which I'm not going to show you all of that. You guys are going to have to buy the chart to find all those little secrets. But yeah, I think I've covered everything. The river, Nandoni Dam. I've removed the sediment chart. The sediment was absolutely useless. But yeah, there was over on this update, I think we did over 1,000 kilometers. So it was a substantial update. It's made a big difference to the chart. I'm sure you guys will appreciate that. The guys that already have the charts, if you've bought your chart or any chart within the last 12 months, this update is free. You just got to pay for the courier there and back, whatever. But you guys know to get hold of Colleen. If you haven't bought a chart in the last 12 months, you can either buy a chart that you've been waiting for. You see another chart, you can buy the chart. Any chart we sell comes with a free 12-month subscription, and then you can send all your charts back to us for updating, free updating. Or if you say, listen, I want them put onto new cards, or you want to put them onto custom cards, or you've got some fancy, very expensive cards that you bought, you want to put your charts onto those charts, you send that chart with your FishTech chart, and you say, please re-encrypt my data, but onto this chart that I've supplied. or you can just ask Colleen to put it onto a new card. We no longer use those A-data cards. We did have issues with some of those cards. I've got some here I've never had a problem with. They work 100%. They were the old original ones, but we have had the odd one here and there. But guys, the biggest problem without a doubt with your charts, please don't ever loan your charts out. Not even to your priest. Don't do it. Please don't do it. It's going to put it's going to stress your relationship with your priest when he tries to do whatever, and he'll swear he didn't do it, but he probably did. And then things go bad. And then, of course, that overlay that I told you about, don't ever turn that on. Yeah, and for the guys that want to buy the charts outright, get all of Colleen and order your brand new Nandoni 2025. Guys, thanks for watching the video. See you next time.